full of prophecies, Mayan mythology. Mayan mythology, with its unique blend of past and future, stands out as one of the most captivating mythologies in the world. In this documentary, we explore the profound beliefs of the Mayans, their sacred ceremonies, their revered gods, their holy book Popol Vuh, their rich mythological stories, notably the creation myth, and the pivotal 2012 prophecies that held the world in suspense, along with the mythical lost continent of Mu and the cities believed to have been erected by dwarves. In their architectural constructions, the Mayans paid the most attention to the buildings and ceremonial areas where they would worship. Offerings to the gods were necessary to ensure regular rainfall, bountiful harvests, and the smooth running of life. The priests, who were also scholars and writers, directed research in mathematics, astronomy, and the calendar. They were not only religious leaders, but also scientific pioneers, and they worked in both fields. The Mayan people lived in a perpetual state of fear, deeply convinced that their world could come to an abrupt end. They were convinced that man had an immortal soul, and that life was an eternal battle between the forces of good and the forces of evil. They envisioned a dichotomy in the afterlife, with a place for the good and a place for the wicked, akin to the concept of heaven and hell. Although the Mayans were very advanced scientifically, their religious practices included human sacrifice and bloodshed. These practices were performed as sacred rituals. According to Mayan belief, these practices ensured fertility and appeased the anger of the gods. If the rituals were not fulfilled, disorder and chaos would ensue in the world. The Maya sacrificed for the gods, primarily prisoners of war, and sometimes their people. One of the Mayans' most important religious ceremonies was the ball game with severed head. In this game, which was played in a long but narrow field with a rubber ball and two teams, hands and feet were not used. Players would try to hit the ball with their bodies, which had to be in constant motion. This game aimed to pass the rubber ball through the holes hung high on the side of the field. The ball game was both an entertainment and a religious ceremony. The spectators would also bet on the outcome of the game. At the game's end, the losing team's captain, or a predetermined prisoner of war, would be sacrificed to the gods. In Mayan mythology, numerous gods govern natural phenomena and guide people. However, the most significant is Uxmal, the supreme god who created the universe and governs all the gods. After the Spanish occupation, under the influence of Christianity, he was known as Hunab-Ku, meaning the only invisible god. Uxmal, the leader of the gods, bestowed wisdom upon the Mayan people, elevating their cultural prowess. In Maya depictions, he is portrayed as an older man with a prominent nose. Equally important in the Mayan culture was Uxmal's wife, Ixchel, the goddess of midwifery, who played a crucial role in the birth of newborn babies. After Uxmal, the god Chak, the god of rain, thunder, and lightning, was the god the Mayans held in the highest esteem. Their deep reverence for Chak was a testament to the importance of agriculture in their lives. The Mayans often organized elaborate rituals and sacrifices, reflecting their profound belief in Chak's power, asking him to bring rain. According to Mayan mythology, Chak cleaved a sacred rock with his axe at the dawn of time, from which the first ears of corn sprouted. He then bestowed the Mayans with knowledge of agriculture and assumed control over the water in nature. This mythological narrative further elevated Chak's status in Mayan society. Embedded within Mayan texts, the deity Kukulkan, a feathered serpent entity, is pivotal. He is believed to have descended from the sky, shaping the ancestors of the current Fifth Age. His statue, a symbol of his profound influence, graces the pyramid at Chichen Itza. The serpent, also revered in Aztec texts, is the deity of death, resurrection, celestial waters, and winds. Scientists propose a fascinating theory as per the Maya's account of the feathered serpent's celestial descent. Upon witnessing a colossal comet, they believed that the Maya mythologized this celestial event, giving birth to the character of the feathered serpent in their rich mythology. So what was described in the Popol Vuh, a sacred book that is an important part of Mayan mythology? Discovered in the early 18th century, the Popol Vuh, the sacred book of the Mayans, remains a captivating enigma. It is the largest Mayan document found to date, a written testament to the beliefs of the Mayans, which they have passed on orally since ancient times. This Book of Times holds the key to a world of ancient wisdom, inviting us to delve deeper into the mysteries of Mayan mythology. The Popol Vuh contains a wealth of information about the Mayan worldview. It discusses the creation of the world, the gods and their roles, the formation of the universe, and the world's ages. The book, the oldest document in human history, dates back to the 1550s, making it a valuable source for understanding the beliefs and practices of the Mayans. During the Spanish occupation, the Mayans demonstrated remarkable resilience. Faced with the destruction of their culture, they kept their teachings secret, not even uttering the name of the Popol Vuh. They memorized its contents, ensuring that their sacred knowledge would endure. This act of defiance and preservation is a testament to the strength and determination of the Mayan people. The texts in the Popol Vuh divide the world into ages, each with significance. The end of the Fifth Age, marked by 2012, heralds a transformative event. This apocalypse signifies not the end of the world, but the end of an age and the dawn of a new one. As the sun aligns with the Milky Way galaxy, a surge of energy is believed to guide humanity towards enlightenment, offering a hopeful future vision. The book's first part contains the story of creation, which I will tell in a moment. The second part is the story of the twin brothers Hunahpu and Exbalanque. According to this story, Hunahpu and Exbalanque challenged the god of the underworld shortly before the creation of the world and living beings. But to reach the god, they must avoid a series of traps. When they enter a room full of bats, the god of death cuts off Hunahpu's head, and the underworld gods play a ball game with it. The ball game with severed head I mentioned earlier is known to be related to this story. Then, Exbalanque replaces Hunahpu's head with a rabbit without the god's knowledge. When the gods want to play ball again, the rabbit runs away and they all run after it in surprise. Exbalanque takes this opportunity to replace his brother's head and revive him. When the gods return and find both brothers alive, they are furious. The heroic brothers attack and defeat the gods of the underworld. With the defeat of the evil gods, the universe is restored, and the twin brothers ascend to the heavens, one as the sun and one as the moon. Now let's move on to the Mayan creation story, which is written in the first part of the Popol Vuh. According to this story, in the beginning, in the eternal darkness, there was the sky above and the sea below. Nothing has been created yet. Under the water, the gods are all alone in the darkness of the night. Then, together, they decide to create the first humans, animals, and all other living things. "Let creation begin," they call out. "Let the void be filled. Let the sea recede and the earth appear," they add. As a result, mountains, valleys, fresh water, trees, and plants were created. When the gods thought the earth was silent, they decided to create many kinds of animals. But these animals only sing and make empty sounds. They can never speak. The gods wanted all animals to talk to them and call their names. Unhappy with this situation, the gods created the first humans to use the animals they created as fodder. Created from clay, these humans are very fragile, and their words cannot be understood even if they speak. For this reason, the gods destroy this human race quickly. Then, they created the second human race. This race is made of wood and is, therefore, more durable. Even though their words are intelligible, these people do not remember the gods because they are soulless. For this reason, the gods are again dissatisfied and bring down their torment on this race of people. The remnants of the human race, most of whom die, are called apes. The gods find themselves in a quandary when contemplating the creation of a new human race. guided by some animals, they stumble upon fields of corn, a plant that flourishes abundantly. Recognizing its potential, the gods fashioned human beings from corn flour, thus birthing the third and final human race. These new beings, endowed with exceptional intelligence and wisdom, express their gratitude to their creators for the gift of sight, hearing, speech, and thought. The gods, perceiving these new people as too clever, retract the wisdom they had bestowed on them because they think they will take their place. In the absence of the sun and moon, the new race of humans dwells in perpetual darkness. However, their love for their gods is unwavering. They gather in prayer, praying their deities to illuminate their world. The gods fulfill their request, raising the sun from the waters to the sky and bringing light to the earth. Thus, the creation phase is completed. One of the most interesting discoveries of Mayan mythology is the Mayan world tree. It is interesting because when the Spaniards set foot on the new continent and entered the Mayan temples, they found crosses painted in green colors. Of course, these crosses had nothing to do with Christianity. The Spaniards later realized that these crosses symbolized the Mayan world tree. This cross symbolizes the world's 4 directions and 4 corners. It was also the foundation of the world and the universe. The base of the world tree descended into the underworld. Its trunk symbolized the world of mortals, and its branches reached up to heaven. Thus the tree encircled the world's 4 corners and kept the Mayans safe. According to the Mayans, the past and future of the world consisted of cycles of about 5125 years. At the end of each cycle, radical changes took place in the world. According to the Mayan calendar, another cycle ended on 130000. This date was December 21, 2012, which has been much discussed. The Mayans characterized this date as the end of an era, the age of earthquakes and floods. It would either be the end of humanity or the beginning of a golden age. Today, the world is dealing with problems such as polar magnetic shifts, global warming, melting glaciers, and increased solar activity. A Mayan inscription about this date reads, "The door at the heart of time and space will open. The universe will be reborn and recreated. We will reach the 0 point of the cycle, the moment of collective spiritual birth. Our simple nature will be turned inside out." You may have heard of the lost continent of Mu in one way or another. Writings, hieroglyphs, and tablets have survived to the present day about a lost continent called Atlantis, according to some ancient civilizations, and Mu, according to others. James Churchward was the first researcher to introduce us to the continent of Mu and the civilization that lived there in the past. Churchward began his first research on the lost continent when he was stationed in India and traveled around the world for more than 50 years, acquiring many documents about Mu. Many cultures say that there was a continent in the Pacific Ocean, that an advanced civilization ruled on this continent for tens of thousands of years, and that this civilization was destroyed by corruption or the sinking of the continent. For example, the Indian epic Ramayana, Mayan texts, and the Egyptian Book of the Dead all mention the Mu civilization, either partially or explicitly. Churchward was the first to put this mythological story on a scientific basis. Churchward, who found the first documents of the Mu civilization in a temple in India, revealed that these tablets, written in a very old and dead language with various shapes and symbols, were written in the Nagamaya language, copied from Mu sacred texts. In 2 years, he learned the Nagamaya language and deciphered what was written on the tablets. According to what is written here, these tablets were written 15,000 years ago and were brought to India by Mu's science priests. Excited and intrigued, Churchward then organized expeditions to the South Pacific Islands, Central Asia, Egypt, Siberia, Burma, Australia, and Central America, obtaining much evidence of the Mu continent. Between 1921 and 23, an archaeologist named William Niven found new evidence of the existence of the Mu civilization in more than 2,600 tablets he found during his excavations in Mexico. Experts who examined the tablets determined that these tablets did not belong to any known civilization. Hearing this, Churchward traveled to Mexico to examine the tablets and realized they were written in a language very similar to the Naga Maya language of the tablets he had seen in India. These tablets are now in the Mexican Museum and are thought to have been written 12,000 years ago. Moreover, documents proving the existence of this continent have been found in China, Burma, Tibet, Mayan hieroglyphics in Yucatan, Central America, and archaeological remains on islands in the Pacific. Looking at all these tablets, it was understood that the lost continent was located in the Pacific Ocean, between the American and Asian continents, with a distance of 9,500 kilometers from east to west and 4,500 kilometers from south to north. The continent also consisted of 3 main lands separated by seas and straits. Islands in the Pacific, such as Hawaii, Marshall, Tahiti, and Easter, are considered the Mu continent's remains. Due to the rising population and lack of resources, the inhabitants left the continent to colonize the Earth and settle on other continents. The continent of Mu was submerged 12,000 years ago due to terrible earth tremors and volcanic eruptions, and it disappeared, taking with it an 83,000-year-old civilization. According to these sources, the Mayans are believed to have come to Central America from the Mu continent. According to some hieroglyphics found by the Mayans, there was a solar empire on the continent of Mu 70,000 years ago, inhabited by 64 million people. A document describing the continent of Mu is found in the Maya temple of Uxmal. In this temple, there is a relief that says, "It was built to preserve the memory of the Western countries from which we came." Also, in the Popol Vuh, the Mayan sacred book, it is written that everything was destroyed and ruined. Here again, the sea swelled, a terrible flood flooded the land. People drowned in a sticky liquid that rained down from the sky. The earth became dark, a black rain poured down for days and nights. Then there was an apocalypse of fire over their heads, and everyone died. Of course, despite all these documents, the existence of the Mu continent is still debated as a theory today. According to some Mayan legends, Uxmal, one of the most mysterious cities on the Yucatan Peninsula, was once said to have been built by a race of dwarves. According to this legend, these dwarves could move stones and place them wherever they wanted with a single whistle. They could even throw the wood from the garden directly into the hearth with a whistle. However, these people disappeared after a great flood, Noah's flood as we know it. A record in the temple of Uxmal describes the sinking of the continent of Mu, which I mentioned earlier. According to what is written here, this event took place about 12,000 years ago, and the temple in Uxmal was built to preserve the sacred memory of the western countries of Mu. The stone hieroglyph on the temple reads, "This pyramid is a monument we have erected so that future generations may forever remember the destruction of the western countries." The fact that the city's name comes from the name Uxmal, which means built 3 times, is enough to tell you how old this city is. The mythology of the Mayans, which I have described so far and whose existence we only learned about later, has been shaking the world since the day it was first discovered, foretelling both the past and the future.